Hello, everybody. We are the other group from Cork College of Further Education and Training. And Bart and Daniel gave a presentation right at the beginning. And because we're greedy, we're also giving a presentation right at the end. But ours is slightly different because we'd had a presentation, and I particularly wanted to bring the arts into the discussion, because I think that the arts are very often left out of sustainability conversations, and I think the arts have a lot to offer, and a little bit of, what's the word here? Anyway, I believe that arts and arts education should be compulsory for all students, because it inspires creativity and alternative thinking and adaptability and innovation, because the arts have existed for forever, really, from the first cave paintings until today. And artists traditionally have envisaged the future, and when there are problems and troubles in the world, the artists respond to that. And my belief really is that going forward into the future, we need to go forward with creativity and inspiration, and also hope. And the arts also encourage well-being. And I think it was wonderful to see, I think it was the Estonian presentation yesterday, with all those amazing art projects that were made from waste materials. That really, really excited me. And also, as the week has gone on, it's just mind-blowing. I'm just so stimulated. We all are really stimulated. And so it was originally just going to be a presentation about arts and sustainability, but we all felt that it would be really nice also to introduce our college and what else we do briefly. So I'll try and be brief, but I am a drama person, so it's quite difficult for me. So apologies in advance. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Ivan and Jer for organising this amazing, well, Ivan for hosting and Jer for organising this amazing opportunity. And it's just been wonderful, and still is wonderful to meet you all. So thank you. So I'd like to start off with just showing you our college. Our college is part, as I say, of the same institution as Daniel and Bart are part of. So Cork College of Further Education and Training has campuses about the county, and ours is in the county in a seaside town called Kinsale, which is a really beautiful town. It's right on the sea. And so as part of our college activities, we have a permaculture course, which Sarah and Eilish are going to talk about in a minute. And the permaculture course, I believe, was the first full-time permaculture course in the world. And through that department, we have now achieved Green Campus status. So that's our college from the front. It's much more interesting at the back, but we couldn't find a picture. So anyway, next slide. Next slide. It's coming up here, but not there. Right. But I've jumped it, so I have to go back because I'm impatient. Ignore that one for a minute. I'm going back now, I think. Aha! So this is Kinsale, our town. And it's really beautiful, as you can see. We've got lots of very multicoloured houses and little twisty lanes. And what you can see on the right picture is Charles Fort, which is originally it was built by the Brits to keep the Irish rebels out. And as I'm a Brit living in Ireland for 30 years, I have to be very wary. But it's a beautiful building, and now it's become a heritage site. And it is really, now it's a sort of tourist attraction because it's maintained its structure to an enormous extent, and it has lovely views of the sea. And I wanted to put it in because now I think it was Romania, was it, that have a white lady story? Pardon? Estonia, who had the White Lady. Yeah, well, we have a White Lady too. A White Lady who reportedly threw herself off the turrets because her lover, who was a soldier, was shot. And there are lots of White Lady pubs and streets and all sorts of things in Kinsale. So we should have a White Lady exchange. So that's why we wanted to put that in. And there's the sea, the harbour, the marina. So anyway, so this is what my talk is really about, sustainability in the arts. And I'm in the front of my words. I don't know how to get away from my words. This way, that way, to my left. That seems to be the other way. Yeah, right out of the picture. That's great. Now you're in my words. But that's okay. Okay, so this is what I think the arts inspire: inspiration, imagination, vision, adaptability, celebration, and well-being. So we're going on to our next slide. Patiently. So you may think it's rather strange to have this in the presentation. So that first picture was a picture of the outside of a wonderful building that we have in Kinsale, an initiative that we started in Kinsale, which is the Kinsale College Amphitheatre. And that first picture that I raced through was the doorway into it. So this came back. This is a project that the permaculture department and the drama department cooked up together back in 2003, and the theatre opened in 2005. The permaculture department had a green building project and wanted a green building, and the permaculture teacher was in the car with me going to college because we were sharing a car, being very sustainable. And he said he wanted a space, and I said, and I said, well, why don't you build a theatre? And he thought I was mad. But I'd just been to the Globe Theatre in London, and it's if any of you know it, it's a replica of Shakespeare's original theatre. It's a green building. It has an oak structure and a lime plaster finish. And it's round. It's called the Globe because it represents the world. And I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if you had one of those in Kinsale? And Rob said, yes, okay. And our principal said, you're mad, but yes, okay, I'll support that. Let's see what happens. So in 2005, we opened our amphitheatre, and there it is. Those are inside views. So what we did is groups of permaculture students and drama students got together, and I gave them a talk about the sort of theatre that we wanted. And the sort of theatre that we wanted was one that was a shared space, which means we very much wanted to encourage the relationship between the audience and the actors, because we believe that theatre is a place where everybody comes together and has an experience. We can't dictate what the experience the audience has. We can just be authentic and open-hearted and share our performance experience, and the audience will, if we are really truthful and real, then the audience will have an experience, and we don't know what that experience will be, but it's like any art project. How you respond to it is coming from where you are in your life, but it is a very positive community experience, and it's very enriching, and it's, even if you're seeing a tragedy, it's still a very joyful experience, which is actually quite interesting, that if I have time I'll talk about later. Let's move on to, so the structure is cob and cordwood. Cob is basically mud and straw, I think, isn't it? Mud and straw. And it's traditionally built. There were cob houses in Ireland, cob houses in the UK. And it's originally built from the time the swallows arrive to the time the swallows leave. So basically spring and summer, because it needs to dry. But obviously our academic year doesn't follow that. Our academic year is from the time the swallows leave to the time the swallows arrive. So we have to have a structure that would encourage our students and teach our students about green building practices, and but that was actually viable in the way to fit in the academic year. So, which is why we did cob and cordwood, which is a structure that's very common in Canada. Apparently, we had some advice from a Canadian green builder. So, and the trees you see are Sitka spruce and larch. And in terms of sustainability, it was a wonderful project because all the straw and topsoil was sourced locally. There was a buildings, there were new houses being built across the road where there were some trees. And so 25 permaculture students went across the road and brought a tree trunk back. And that tree trunk is now the posts that support the theatre. So the theatre is loosely modelled on the Globe Theatre. The drama students and the permaculture students got together, and we gave them clay and sticks and stones and bits of other bits, natural pieces, and they had a day to design their dream theatre. I said just dream. And then they each gave a presentation, and then in the end, Rob and I took an amalgamation of all of those things, and the theatre was made. Took 2 years to make. The students did nearly all the work with the support of staff and obviously professional builders, and it opened in 2005. Okay, so there it is being built. Educational project showcasing art, permaculture and green building as a viable option for a sustainable future. And that was back in 2005. So it's a bit of a landmark building. There's no other green Cobham Caldwood amphitheatre, certainly in Ireland, I doubt if in Europe. So it has a turf roof, it has a grass roof on the top, and as I say, opened in 2005. So there's the vision realised. Now originally, when you saw those pictures, you'll see it's all closed in, but originally it was just an outside theatre. It was literally finished 2 days, well not 2 days, like the day before the show opened, because we were still putting the larch benches in. And as you can see, originally it really was an outside space. The larch benches were there. There's steps, as you probably saw from the previous one, and you'll see later, on either side, so the actors can really get in there with the students. So that was a production of Merry Wives of Windsor, and you can see how long ago it was by the state of the cars. So this is just to show you the structure of it. You can see the big cordwood, the circular pieces of wood, and the cob is then lime washed. So that's a lime wash finish. And you can see a bit of the window there. So the windows were recycled washing machine doors. So all the materials that we used were recycled, local, either natural resources or resourced locally in the recycling centre. So the next thing was that after 2 or 3 years, we had a new principal, and he thought we were balmy as well. But then he came to see the end of year show, and he was really excited because it is a really exciting venue. Everybody that comes into it has its own atmosphere and its own because it's a green theatre, because it's a natural space, people respond differently in it. You know, traditional theatres and often, even classrooms like this, and this is nice because it's got some light, but a lot of it is obviously not natural light, and it's got air conditioning, so it's really nice, but we're not in touch with, and this is classrooms everywhere, you know, we're not in touch with the outside world at all. And when you work in nature, you relax, you feel more inspired, you feel more alive, you feel more hopeful. There are, in Ireland at the moment, there are developing for younger children a lot of forest schools where a lot of education happens outside, and of course that was one of the positives that came out of COVID. So people come and they flock to the theatre because it has such a lovely atmosphere, and it feels human and it feels natural. So this is the reciprocal roof. So this was, we had to put it, well, we didn't have to, but the new principal came along and said, I want to develop this space so that you can use it more often during the year, so that the actors aren't getting wet, or the audience, but we had put a temporary cover over the audience, but the actors, when they came down into the pit area, where I'm standing there, would get wet. The actors didn't mind. They used to say it's really exciting because it feels real, but the audience, apparently, got shocked. They started feeling sorry for the actors, and that's no good. We want the audience to be able to relax. So we put a roof up. That took a long time because we didn't want a central pole to obscure sightlines. So we had various architects and designers come in, and of course was a cost factor. That's the other thing I meant to say, is the whole structure itself at the beginning cost a sum total of €3,000, which is amazing, because most of it was local, naturally sourced material. So that is a reciprocal roof. It's a very ancient technique, in fact. You see it in medieval churches, but it's only just being revived as a modern architectural practice. So the beams are self-supporting. And I put that in because I think the ethos of Kinsale College is about mutual support. And this is what this whole conference is about, really, isn't it? It's about self-support and mutual support in order to get something done. And so the building as well replicates the ethos of the college and the ethos of sustainability, I think, where we need to go. So the next picture. Okay, so it's a vibrant community space. People come to it from literally all the local people come all the time. And when I say local, people from across West Cork, people drive down from Cork. And many of our students some come from the local area, some come nationally, and we also have international students. So international students have been known to fly back for the end of year play because it's such an event. Beside the amphitheatre, we have another Cobb and Corgwood building, which has a pizza oven. So we used to bake pizzas. The students themselves used to bake pizzas, which they made on site, and we gave a free slice of pizza to every audience member in the interval. And as you were sitting there, you could smell the pizza cooking, which added another dimension to the whole thing, because it brought smell into it as well. So it's a live building. We have cats. We actually have a very bold robin that lives in the theatre. We obviously have mice that scuttle in and out from time to time, and there's lots of spiders. But and there's also greenery inside the theatre, which is really magic. Okay, so it's a community space. You can see there's another picture of it. It's a safe, friendly space, which means that the audience feel comfortable, the actors feel comfortable, which is really important because it, as a training space for actors, it builds confidence. To see the students developing from September till May when we do the show is extraordinary. They're very playful, and I think we need to be playful to imagine our future, because it can be very grim, and it can be, even this morning, even though it was really lovely, there was a lot of really hard news there, and it's very easy for us to become despondent and in despair. And I think what art has done, is it's allowed people to look towards the future as, what can we gain from this rather than what are we losing, I think. In theatre, I say to the students every year, and I said this last year during COVID, that, and for every artist and for us all, our challenge becomes our creative solution. So what we end up with at the end is better than what we started with at the beginning. And I'd really like to see that, because I see so much despair, especially amongst our young people, about, deciding not to have children, deciding, what world have we left them. And as somebody who's a mature person, not that mature, but mature enough, I really feel bad about that, because I feel that our generation has contributed to that. So it's a safe, friendly space. So there you go. That's celebration, engagement, hope. You see that the actors come right up into the audience. Sometimes they sit next to the audience, and they become part of the crowd, and the crowd get engaged, but not in a way where we're putting them on the spot. So everybody goes out feeling enriched. After our first performance, the actors got a standing ovation, and there were audience members in tears as well as laughing. And I went to a couple of them and said, "Are you okay?" And they said, "Yes, it was just the most amazing experience of our lives. I feel so moved." And they said, "It's like Woodstock." So that's what can happen in a natural space. So celebration, engagement, hope. The other thing I wanted to say about that last one was that as I say, it's an assembly hall for the college, so it's a gathering place for the whole college. Other college courses use the permaculture course, used it this year. We would like to embrace that further. And local community groups come and use it as well. So it's the only theatre in Kinsale, in fact. So it's a really exciting place. So just very briefly now, in the drama department, and this is across all the arts, we practice reduce, reuse, recycle. So props and costumes that we make, I can't see which one that is, yeah. Props and costumes that we make are made out of cardboard. We usually go down to the recycling centre and get scraps. We go down to the council, local council, and we collect corryboard. We make loads of flats and sets out of corryboard, scraps, and all our sets and costumes are recycled, adapted. If we do buy new stuff, we get it from charity shops. And part of the reason for that is I've done that forever with the students, because I'd like them to feel empowered to go and make their own theatre without thinking they need a huge budget. You know, all you need is a brain, a bit of creativity and a few scraps. Because a lot of actors starting off don't have anything, you know, and so they're waiting until they've got some money to start theatre. You know, you have a green space and you have some ingenuity and you can perform anywhere. So that's the making. Just very quickly, because I know I'm probably running out of time. So last year, this is something else, I think, in terms of creative responses where the arts can, you know, inspire us, but also where I think was a positive aspect. There's many positives from COVID, but this is what we discovered. We didn't want to, we were told masks, obviously, masks, no props, no costumes, no things, you know, no touch. So we thought, how are we going to do that? And we couldn't even work in our drama studio. We have a drama studio as well. Even in the amphitheatre, we couldn't work because there were too many students because of the rules and regulations, okay? So we said, okay, rather than going online, we will just go outside. So we bought tents for all the students, and, you know, and we went out, we found a field in the town behind the sports centre, and we worked outside for the year. And we discovered so many things. It was really, really exciting space. It developed expression, and I'm going to move on from that, but I could talk about it for ages. So that's a production called and it was an adaptation of the Odyssey, called The Wine Dark Field. You can see the sea in the background. Okay, next one. Okay, so I've already said this really, is that an arts training and what the theatre training does is it inspires well-being and it gives the students a voice. It helps them believe in themselves. It really empowers them. And I think that is something that is really important during the future that we're going through. So I couldn't read my notes to go with my slides, so I dare say I've missed some things out, but that's the end for me, and I'm going to pass over to my colleagues. So thank you for listening.
Okay, I'll leave you with that. Can you take that? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So Belinda's told us lots, but I'm just going to give you just a very quick snippet of the rest of the college. And she mentioned earlier that we have green campus status, and listening to you all week, there are things we are not doing that you're doing, you know, that we have certainly been inspired by. But we're just going to give you a little flavour of things we are doing.
Can I just take it for a second?
You can.
What this book is, yeah. I'm really sorry about this, but I just wanted to say that the guy that inspired the amphitheatre, you know, who worked alongside myself, but was the person who, you know, behind all the building and everything like that. Like, I had the idea, but I didn't bring it into fruition because I don't have those skills. And is Rob Hopkins. I don't know if any of you have known him, but he's a really, you know, he now gives talks all over the world. And it was his sort of willingness to take this project on that made it happen. And that's why it was the permaculture. And he headed and started the permaculture course in Kinsale. And he's written a book which I'm only just reading, believe it or not, but I thought I'd put it on here because it's really inspiring. It's called What If? And he talks about what we could do, okay, if we allowed ourselves to use our imaginations. And it's a really good book. So that's why I put that on. So I started and finished with Rob.
Thanks. That's okay. So I'll get you to click.
Yeah, thank you.
So as I said, we have green campus status, and that you'll just see our green flag. So we can click We're all ready for lunch, I think. So this is just to show you, that, so Belinda talked about it being like the theatre, but we also use it for community things. So this year, yes? Oh, sorry. This year, the local secondary school, they hosted a conference on sustainable green digital transition in education. But the space in our theatre was used for that. So although we didn't host it, we did give them the space for it. So. Okay, and we have a week every year called Green Week. And in that week, there are lots of events, lots of guest speakers that come and talk about, green initiatives. And this was one, Farm to Fork. So we did lots of different stands, this was, I suppose, a very informal one. So you can see there that she's dressed particularly a fork and, a fork for the garden. So it was just really to teach people about where food comes from and to look at food. And I suppose that out of this, then, we also worked with, in our school, our college, we have professional cookery course. So in that professional cookery course, Belinda, I think you can click on. Yeah, sorry. That's okay. Yeah, as part of Green Week, we did a stop food waste thing with them. So we looked at how much food we're wasting in the college, what's going into the bins. We looked at things like embedded water in the food, so that's wasting water, the energy that goes into growing the food, etc. And we also looked at, we just brought along a couple of issues. We looked at ugly veg. Okay, I don't know if you've come across the concept of ugly veg. And we went to the supermarket yesterday and I was looking for ugly veg. It's really difficult to find in the supermarket because when you go in, you pick the best. You look at it looks perfect. But that's not the way things grow. Carrots often have 3 legs because they grow around stones. But if you went to the supermarket, you wouldn't find one with 3 legs. So it's just to show you, that all of this goes to waste. And we were trying to encourage our cookery students to be mindful of that. And so Sarah is one of our permaculture students. And in that last slide there, you could see where we took them down then to see the cycle of food. We took them down to give them a composting workshop. So they would see when they put food into the waste, where it went and what happened to it. So Sarah is very kindly going to just talk to you a little bit about the permaculture course and this composting system that we have.
Okay, so permaculture is about design and how to design a system to be self-sufficient, I think. Rory might agree with me there, I don't know. So I think this project in itself, particularly for Green Week, really brought that kind of philosophy to life in that. So the cookery students got this demonstration of how to compost, and then we would be involved in the making of the compost, including from other compost bins all over the college. So we turned it and we created it and added brown waste and everything to create it, and then sowed the seeds, grew the plants in the tunnels, and then brought it back to the cookery students to make a meal for everybody in the college during Green Week. So it was very much a cycle. And that's totally what permaculture is about. Our full title of our course is Sustainable Horticulture and Permaculture. And I think still probably the only full-time permaculture course in Europe, and very, very much part of the whole ethos of the college. And as Belinda was saying earlier, about how we rely on each other, and I think that was totally represented in this project.
Well done, thanks. So I think you can go on, Belinda. Okay. So this was another initiative, part of Green Week, and it was a project that was done in Kinsale as a whole, where we put up Swift boxes around the college. But then this morning, after going on our walk and looking at perhaps, the negative side of putting up boxes for birds, we may have a little think about that when we go back. Okay, so that was just one of the initiatives. This year, I think this is one of our last ones, we're nearly ready to go, that this year we celebrated 21 years of permaculture in Kinsale. And as part of that, we had a big day of celebration. We had lots of guest speakers talking about, the waterways, about maintaining forests, and about the whole ecosystem. And this just shows, it's a lovely picture of the college. It's never looked so good. And we had lots of stalls, but we also had workshops. So in those workshops, you can go and you could learn how to make cob, you could learn how to grow your own mushrooms, you could learn how to save food, like, bottling and pickling and all of those things so that your food wouldn't go to waste. And there was also one there as well on making medicines from herbs, etc. So it was just a whole day of looking at that, and bringing people from the outside in, and just a whole education day, really. So that really is, just to give you a snippet. As I say, there's loads of things we brought away from here that we'd like to, do as part of our green campus status. But like you, we do the regular things we're not going to talk about, like separating waste, no printing. We do all of those things. But there is loads. There are loads more we could do. We're looking. Hopefully this year we'll get a water dispenser. We already encourage students not to use, plastic bottles, but we don't have a water dispenser. We don't have solar panels. There's lots we can. We're working our way there. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.